Welcome, producers and beat makers. Kung Fu Music here with another tutorial. The first tutorial in this two-part series, I showed you how to make a quick drum track in Reaper. This time we're going to use that same drum track I made, and we're just going to beef things up a little bit. We're going to fatten things up. We're just going to use a few simple tools, no effects. We're just going to use some panning and a little bit of EQing, and we're just going to try to create an environment based on the drum samples that we've used and the way that we've put them together to try to create something very, 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 very nice. All right, so this is the drum track, and let's go ahead and get started right away. Okay, so here I'm going to solo the hi-hat. Okay, let me zero some of these parameters here for a second. We're going to focus just on the hi-hat right now. I'm going to double it. Okay, so we have two of the same exact tracks, and we're just going to pan these left and right. Now, when you pan these, you can go all the way left, you can go all the way right. This is to taste, this is based on the sounds that you're using, okay? So we're just panning these to give a little bit larger of an environment. You should have heard the levels of the volume go down a little bit. That's fine. We're just spreading the environment out a little bit. So that's what it sounds like. But in all actuality, we're just giving it a little bit of a bigger sound. So now I'm going to add a little bit of an EQ here. I'm opening up my effects panel using the EQ Dynamics VST effects panel. And I have a preset in here for hi-hat, and I just dropped the lows, keep the highs. I personally like to keep the highs. It gives me a cut through on the rest of the drum track. That's where I like to start. And then I go back in and sometimes I add a little bit more of the mids in. It all depends on the sound of the drum track and the samples, that we have. So here I have both going, and you might not be able to hear the difference. That's off. And that's on. I'm not sure if you're going to be able to hear the difference, but it's thinning the track out, the two tracks out considerably, and it's bringing them to the top, basically. So we're panning and bringing them to the top. All right. Now here we have our kick. We're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to double these tracks. Okay. And let's go to my effects panel here. As you can see, I have a kick preset. These presets are designed just to get a quick, fast start. See here, I just dropped some of the highs out to get a little bit more muddier, fatter kick. Take off some of that top end. This is all purely by taste. You can edit any way you see fit. Like you see here, I'm moving these values, and you're changing the environment considerably. So this is where you just go in and you just tweak according to your drum samples and how they relate to each other. But I'm just going to keep this straightforward and simple and use this preset I had. And let's see what we got here. Okay, so off and on. Okay, I'm turning the effects on for the second one, and we are getting beefier and fatter as we go along. Like that? All right. Now, we're just going to pan these a little bit. You can pan these desired to your taste. You can keep them straight up the middle if you like. It looks like I'm doing about 28% here, not full on pan, somewhere in between. Like I said, this is purely to taste. Pan as you see fit or not at all. All right, so off and on. See the difference? Now I'll toggle everything off and on, and you still may not be able to hear the hi-hat, but we'll do a before and after at the end, and you'll be able to see it. On and off. On. All right. So now we're going to move to the snare, and again, we're going to do the same thing we did before. We're going to duplicate these tracks. Okay, and we're going to jump inside our effects panel, and here I have a snare preset. I just dropped some of the low end off of it, as you can see right here. And you can adjust these parameters as you see fit. Every song, every drum wave sample, hi-hat sample, snare sample need to be adjusted to match each other. It's kind of like a harmony between the three sounds. You want to cut and boost certain frequencies so they roll very well together. So you can see here, I'm getting all kind of different values, and I have a pretty low end kick. So I like my hi-hat and my snare to have that low cut in a sense. Here I'm cutting the mids because I just want to slice right through the drum track there, and it's gonna kind of complement the hi-hat. Okay, so see, off and on. So I just like the sound of this kind of thin snare, so I'm just going to create a preset, and I'll use this in the future. This is going to be snare 2. I have snare 1, which is a little bit fatter. This one's a little bit thinner, and these are designed just to keep me going faster, because you just go in, you just apply it, and it's just general application, and then you always go back, you rinse and repeat and adjust as you start laying in your samples and everything. So off, on. Okay, hear that? Moving right along. Yeah. So that's a little too thin. So if I take that one away, see, I get a little bit more mid coming back, and I still have the top end. It's too thin. So I'm just playing with the two values to see which one I like the best. Bass with everything. Yeah, and this is what I like the best. So I think I'm gonna roll. Let's see. Yeah, I think I'm gonna roll with that. Yeah, and like I say, rinse and repeat. We just go back and forth as we move along, and hear the values. Yeah, see? And then that's the one I like. Yeah, I'm feeling comfortable with that one. Cool. All right. Let me just adjust the level of the drum kick here a little bit. It seems a little hot, so I'm just going to pull it down a little bit. All right, so that's pretty straightforward and simple. Let's go ahead and listen to the before and after. Before, after. Before and after. And you can see a considerable distance in the space, the relationship for the drum, the snare, and the hi-hat, how they kind of complement each other. Everything has its place. It's a little bit bigger. And now you can see that when you place a sample in here, you have a nice little bed to work with. And one thing to remember, this is all rinse and repeat. As soon as you start dropping your samples in there, you also want to EQ those and balance those with the drum track so nothing is fighting each other. But this is just designed to give you a quick, fast, and pretty smooth way to keep the creativity going and be able to keep moving along. I hope you enjoyed this. Check the link for my Twitter, and please subscribe.